Hey guys, welcome to the closing show of Your Stories Daily Video. I've got Mudasar Mohamed, the founder of Ezyhaul. And by the way, Ezyhaul is the first cross-border logistics company in Southeast Asia. It's a startup. They've raised 16 million last week, and they have 30,000 trucks globally. And they've come into India now, but they have humble beginnings. Mudasar himself is a Bangalore boy, correct?
Proudly, Nama Bengaluru.
Nama Bangalore, right? And your entry into logistics was also by chance, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, Vishal. I mean, I grew up in Bangalore, like most young Bangaloreans went to engineering college.
Yes. And we go to the same schools?
We did, yes.
Frank Anthony
Public School in Alsur. So I grew up in Indranagar, one street away from Yasuri's office. So I did industrial engineering, right? And I was joking with Vishal, that's probably the lowest rung of in demand.
Nobody would employ you.
But we were lucky that that year in 2003, Gati, one of India's legendary logistics companies, they came to campus to hire some industrial engineers. And that year, I got recruited along with two of my batchmates.
So you had no idea about the logistics industry?
None at all.
I mean, 16 years down the line...
Here we are.
Yeah, you are. You also were the MD of another company, right? In between UTI.
Yeah, so the...
UTI Worldwide.
Yeah, the journey started with Gati and then moved to the US, got hired by UTI, started off in the consulting team, and then a few promotions later, I was running Singapore and Malaysia as their MD. And that's where I met my current partners.
Yeah, that's Raymond and Nikki.
Yeah, Raymond Gill and Nikki Lam, three of us.
They couldn't join us, guys, but if you're a SME wanting to have a partner in logistics, then Ezyhaul is here. The logistics space is big, Southeast Asia.
Right.
Talk about your early journey, 2016, what were you solving?
Right. So, look, logistics is an extremely fragmented industry, right? There are thousands of small shippers and thousands of small transporters, right? There was no medium for them to discover each other until technology could solve the problem. So, we were probably one of the first ones to recognize the problem in Southeast Asia and build this wonderful platform, Ezyhaul, to connect demand and supply. Right? Demand are companies that want to move their cargo, and supply are transporters eager to get a load so they can fill their pockets.
So would the ecosystem be similar in India, where there's high levels of fragmentation?
Absolutely.
92% of them are single truck owners.
Right.
Would that be the same in Malaysia, Thailand?
It's very similar, and you see this in almost all countries in the world. In India, like you rightly said, I think 80% are single truck owners. And then also on the demand side, thousands and thousands of small companies, and they typically, to get a truck, they pick up their phone and start calling the transporters.
Or they're dependent on the friends or something like that.
Or a number on the tree.
So is there an agent also in Malaysia and Thailand for this?
So the concept of brokers is more prevalent in India compared to Thailand and
it's individual entrepreneurs doing everything themselves.
They are pretty much. But in India, the brokers, again, it's such an antiquated industry. They do everything manually, right? So there's no technology they're applying to make the match. It's more your grandma's matchmaking service.
What I like about you is the fact that you've got a strategic player and not VCs in your company.
Right.
Which is very important.
It is.
Because it's a long-term view.
Right.
You're not playing the valuation game.
Yeah. Well, we're not, and that's why we don't focus on fancy metrics too much. Also, we've never done any PR, so I don't think a lot of people haven't heard of us because we don't do any marketing until the funding news came out. And also it goes back to our previous life, Raymond and I, especially running P&Ls for large companies, very focused on EBIT, right, as opposed to being focused on valuation side. So.
You've come into India just now. You're just starting off. It's been 8 months.
Yeah.
There are companies that have raised money, like Rivigo, Blackbuck.
Right.
It's a big market. It's a $120 billion market. You were right when you said this is Southeast Asia is just a $30 billion market. But India is huge. It's a great potential. I think the market, it has 12 million trucks. And we haven't even scratched the surface.
Right.
Not even all the funded startups, right? They're not, right?
They're not. And look, I think in the space, there's a lot of startups come and gone, and I believe in 5 years, it'll probably be 2 or 3 startups standing, right? And the market is so big and so disorganized, there is enough room for 2 to 3 players to, prosper, and we're quite confident we will be.
It's interesting. You've got 500 customers globally.
Yes.
And you do cross-border.
Right.
But in India, what would be your strategic approach?
So in India, we plan to focus on, so we call ourselves a full stack, right? So we do everything from our Tata Ace up to a 40-foot trailer. So we have a good balance between intracity business, which is catering more to the e-commerce companies, and also the intercity long distance transport. So there are some companies doing intercity, some companies doing intra. Our benefit is we do all of it, but also we have an optimization engine where for some of our clients we just get the raw data, and then we have an optimization engine that decides how many trucks you need, what type of trucks, etc. So right from processing the raw data to execution, we are.
Where do you get the raw data from again?
So this would be from a large corporation who have hundreds of shipments to move,
and they would have worked with truckers previously.
They were previously just sending an Excel file to a trucker, and the trucker just from
didn't worry about
his head he was just deciding. But now we use an algorithm to decide that raw data translates to X number of trucks, and also what type of truck. Right? Do you need two 20-footers, or can you do with two canters, for example?
For logistics to be profitable, they say trucker utilization is very important.
Right.
The truck utilization.
Absolutely.
What currently it's at 65% probably across
it's probably the average.
And increasing it by say 100 basis points,
right?
Does it change a lot? Does it change a lot?
It does.
100 basis points is still small.
It's still small, right? So I think there are two problems we need to solve for turning a logistics company profitable, right? One is the utilization. So by giving the transporter a return load, you can also get a better rate from it, right? So you get better commercials, more profitably. The second one is reducing the manual work that's required in this industry, right? There's a lot of PODs, there's a lot of paperwork, etc. We have an amazing tech team, both in Malaysia as well as a small team in India, which by the way we're growing and hope to add more here. And we've been able to, in the last 8 months, grow our business 10x and yet increase our staff only by about 5%.
How big is your staff strength?
In India, we are about 40 people currently. Most of our tech team is in Malaysia, like I mentioned.
Okay, that's something we have to come back to. You want to set up an R&D center here?
We are considering expanding the tech team from Malaysia to India. Given that I'm here and obviously India is the hub for tech talent, it's kind of a no-brainer for us to explore that.
And so for you, you're also expanding markets. You're in probably about 10 cities today. And probably Northwest region, South also. But do you want to expand more?
Sure. I mean, we're right now very focused on North, South, and West. West being Maharashtra. We yet to enter the East. We yet to enter Gujarat, Rajasthan, Northwest. We're just getting started. Long way to go.
I mean, India must be very difficult. Is it that fragmented compared to Southeast Asia, or would it be similar?
India is even more fragmented than Southeast Asia. Lot more players here, both on demand and supply side, and also the brokers add the additional complexity to the ecosystem.
Do people get the effect of tech on their businesses? I mean, will people pay a premium for your technology in this country, or is it pricing that really matters?
I think the market in India is still price driven, but how do you compete? You can't compete only on price, so we compete on price and the technology, right? So for example, because our drivers on the app, we're able to now measure how long the truck stopped at a particular route, right? So for example, we have an FMCG client who's delivering to 4 drop points, and the driver is waiting for like 8 hours at one particular drop point, right? That's the bottleneck. So earlier, this client couldn't go to that store and say, you're holding my truck. They don't have any proof. But now with the data which we give to them, they were delighted, right? So they have like heat maps, and they know exactly how many hours and how many minutes the truck was stored.
For me, it's also interesting that in India, they use truckers as inventory.
Exactly.
That's sad.
Exactly.
They make them wait.
And it's a black hole, right? Nobody could really convey.
And they don't pay them for that.
And they couldn't convey how long they waited. But now everything has a digital proof, and then you can monetize it.
So you can tell the client also that, look, move that guy. You got to move this product in.
Absolutely.
Right? Is it because the lack of availability of warehousing infrastructure, is that the reason why they make them wait?
It was, and I think kudos to the current government. I think with the whole GST mechanism that came in 2 years back, the need for the warehouses is obviously reduced at a state level, so it's more intercity transport, and the trucks are moving for, the throughput is a lot higher, I would say, than 2 years ago.
In this case, the pricing is also determined by you.
Yes.
It's not a reverse auction. You want to tell reverse auction.
Yeah, so there are some startups that follow a reverse auction model where every job that goes out, the transporters bid on that job, right? We felt that wouldn't be appropriate for Southeast Asia or India because of the response time or not. So what we follow is more the Uber-like. We are the price giver. So we have an algorithm that decides the price for that particular job given the environment, right? So that's the location, timing, demand, etc. And we give one price to the transporter. He then accepts or declines.
Fundraising is such a difficult aspect. Now that you've got a strategic, are you going to be on constant fundraising mode, or is more on operations, EBIT, get it right? What kind of monies do you need? I mean, in India, in the media, fascinating by, $1 billion valuation.
Yeah, look,
But,
it's
you know,
it's
it doesn't really
interesting,
matter.
and unfortunately, that's the hypocrisy of the startup world, where it's so dominated by valuation and funding. But we've never had to play that game because we heard a strategic, right? So the 16 mil that we've raised, we're quite confident that we can go for the next 18 months on our current trajectory and open an additional country.
And also the technical center. on top
And
of that.
technical center in India, right? You don't really plan already that I'm going to raise funding. That's an outcome. It's not an objective, right? I read an article yesterday where this founder said, I plan to raise 75 million next year. And how can you be that? That shouldn't be a plan, right? That's an outcome. How much funding you raise at what valuation is an outcome of the business you run, right? You got to focus on the fundamentals of your business, execute it, drive it towards profitability, and then determine how much funding you need and what the valuation would be.
You know, that's the best closing lesson you guys can get now. If you're entrepreneurs out there, focus on the fundamentals.
Absolutely.
The outcome will happen.
The outcome
and if
is the
VCs
fun.
say no, you're happy because you're building for outcome again, and they'll
Absolutely.
come to you eventually.
They will
right?
at some point.
You know, I know it's been great for you the last 16 years to where you've come. What can we expect from Ezyhaul next 18 months in India?
Yeah.
And then I want to move into your inspirations and
Sure. So within India, like I said, we are in active hiring mode.
Yeah.
We are hiring in all levels: operations, customer service, sales, tech. People, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of strategic outlook, we are opening up Indonesia, most likely later this year.
So you're currently in Singapore,
We are in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and
which is
India.
where the cross-border happens.
Correct.
Then
So-
you'll have Indonesia.
Indonesia will be our new market, which we
And
hope
obviously
by
India,
end of
obviously.
this year, and continue growing our existing.
So is there a
markets.
bridge that connects Singapore and Indonesia? I mean,
Not Indonesia. Indonesia is an island, but right from Singapore to South China, you could go by road. So we
Okay.
already do shipments for some clients from Singapore through Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and then South China.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So business apart, right? I know you're
Yeah.
building a high growth startup.
Right.
Now that you're back after what, 10 years?
12 years
12
about.
years,
Yeah.
you know, your family and all that.
Yeah.
What inspires you today, and
Right.
what are you reading? Do you read at all?
Yeah, look, in terms of inspiration, the biggest satisfaction of running a business is creating jobs. I think I mentioned this earlier, right?
Yeah, and you
it's
employ
such a-
110 people, yeah.
Yeah, this gives me so much pleasure when we hire people. I think that's the number one satisfaction. Inspirations, there have been many, right? Some in my family, some outside. Outside Elon Musk, I mean, the guy's just ridiculous. You know,
Yes.
I tell everybody from a scale of 0 to Elon Musk, where does your ambition lie?
Yeah, there's no 0 to 1 in terms of Musk. It's 0 to
Right,
infinity.
It's infinity, right? So, in terms of what I'm reading for startup founders, Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, great book. Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's more on negotiations and whatnot. Currently, what I'm reading. Some books that had an impact on me, inspiring me. I mean, I read Ayn Rand's Fountainhead when I just graduated before starting the Gati job. That's had a big
Why?
influence.
Fountainhead is about existentialism, individualism.
Well,
right?
I think the character of Howard Roark really
Yes,
appealed
the
to me.
architect.
Yeah, it's just something about how steadfast he is in his beliefs. And you were mentioning about one of your mentors.
Yes, Mudasar.
Right. Very steadfast in his beliefs, right? Doesn't
Yes.
care what others say. So I think you need to be a little bit like that as a founder. And in the second book, actually, it's quite funny. It's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He's got a diagram there that really shows you how to create wealth in the long term, and it's not.
What's the book again?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah,
By Robert,
okay, that's
right.
a good book.
It's a cult, but it's some people, I don't know, they look down upon it.
It's not a self-help book, though.
It's not. I mean, there's one diagram there which you can look up, right? It just talks about how equity is made from assets and equity is not made from income. I mean, that really hit home for me. And
It's great to meet somebody who reads so much. Apart from books, inspirations.
Well, like I said, on the business world, I had an uncle who ran his own business. He's been a big influence on me in terms of how he led it and the influence. I mean, the advice he still
What's his
gives
name?
me. Ali, last name Mohammed, Ali Mohammed.
I hope he's watching.
I hope he is. Yeah, I'll probably send him the link, a link as well. And then in Gati, there was a guy called Mr. Leelaram Yadav. He probably doesn't watch
Mentored
this
you?
stuff, but yeah, I mean, my first job was in Devas Naka, which is outside of Indore in the boondocks, right? So for this kid from Bangalore to end up there.
Especially from Bangalore.
Right,
Cantonese.
and my first job was unloading trucks. So today I have to thank him for making me unload trucks.
So guys, if you're a founder, the boondocks is where we all begin.
You have to start.
Before you see riches, you have to go through poverty. And Mudasar is here to tell us how. We'd love to have you back again.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you in a bit,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you.
I don't know. Enron did such an impact on you, man. You
Is that-
remember the name of the character.
Dude,
I forgot.
I don't know. Some books are just.
I've forgotten that character.
Yeah.